Federal Reserve officials are meeting for 2 days as inflation skyrockets. The central bank's bond buying program is set to expire in June, but officials have discussed ending it more quickly. Experts believe the Federal Reserve will stop asset purchases by March due to the inflation problem. Chairman Jerome Powell is expected to hold a press conference on Wednesday. As inflation increases, so does the number of new jobs. However, experts have struggled to predict the jobs added each month. According to the Wall Street Journal, the median economist forecast was off by 363,000 jobs for the month of November. Josh Mitchell is a staff reporter for the Wall Street Journal and joins me now for more. Josh, welcome. What can we expect to come out, first of all, of the Federal Reserve meeting?
Well, I think the Federal Reserve is increasingly concerned about inflation, and so they are expected to, to move ahead with their plans to raise interest rates soon, or at least tighten their policy soon.
And Josh, when it comes to counting the number of jobs, why has the pandemic made that so difficult when it comes to looking at these job gains?
Well, there are two things going on. We're still in a historic pandemic, and so it's been really hard to predict how businesses would respond, employers would respond, and how consumers would respond. So, for example, we've seen a big shift in where consumers are spending their cash. And so that affects which employers hire and which don't. But the second thing, and the more important factor, is that the Labor Department itself has less and less information from employers about how many people are on their payrolls. So, for example, each month when it asks employers how many people they hired, there used to be 59% of employers that they would survey would respond to that. That was before the pandemic. Now it's about 45%. So what we're seeing is a smaller sample size in terms of how much information the government is getting from employers themselves.
So that was one of the challenges that experts had faced when predicting job growth in normal times. Are there others?
Yes, one of the biggest things that's happened during this pandemic is this normal seasonal patterns of hiring have changed. So if you think about it, schools, for example, were closed last year, and so that threw off, the estimates of how many teachers are hired in the fall. And schools are still, closing from time to time when, kids get sick. They might close for 2 weeks on end. So one of the struggles that the Labor Department has had is really trying to understand whether some of these changes are going to stay even after the pandemic, or is this just sort of a one-off that's happening right now? So it's really hard for them to adjust their computer models in real time to account for what's going on.
I mean, when you look at it, Josh, it seems like such a daunting task because essentially you are banking on human behavior, which is notoriously unpredictable. So how much does psychology factor into predictions?
Right, exactly. I mean, that is one of the biggest things here is that, no one knew how consumers would respond. Would people be too scared to go out into, the workplace, to go back to the office, to go to restaurants? Once the economy reopened, we had the Delta variant, that came on board. And so we didn't know, whether people would go back inside because of that or whether they would shift spending online. So there's been a lot of guesswork, and it's been really hard to guess not only how consumers would respond, but how businesses would respond. And keep in mind, there's a lot of people that have still not returned to the workforce. And so, a lot of times employers want to hire, and economists think that they are going to hire, but they can't find the workers that they want, at least at the wages that they're offering. And so that's been a problem in itself.
So I wonder, when it comes to gathering this information, how does government data on job numbers compare to private industry data?
So, we have to keep in mind, this is actually a very big survey size. 145,000 businesses are surveyed each month. That's huge. And so while the numbers have been off, you have to understand that there's 149 million jobs in the U.S., which means if we're off by 200,000 jobs in 1 month, that sounds like a lot, but it's actually a very small percentage-wise compared to the whole, the whole United States in terms of how many jobs are out there. So, it is actually, over time, the agency will change its estimates as it gets more data in, and it actually is a really good report to pay attention to. You just have to be cautious about the first report that comes out. You have to look at the whole year as a whole to really understand what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's really about looking at sort of the trend lines and where those may be headed, right, as opposed to just necessarily one snapshot, which, as you point out, is subject to change, right? All right, well, Josh Mitchell, really good to have you. Thanks so much, Josh.
Sure, thanks.